Welcome to the Hobby School podcast. Whether you're a seasoned hobbyist or just getting started, Hobby School is the perfect place to learn something new. My name is Dr. Destini Copp, and I'm your host of the podcast. But before we jump into our episode for today, the only thing I ask is that if you enjoyed the episode, please share with a friend and give us an honest review on your favorite podcast platform. This helps us get out the content to more people. I also want to invite you to get on our wait list for our next Hobby School Online Learning Summit. These are free to attend, and you can find the link to join at hobbyschool.com, which is also in our podcast show notes. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. And my special guest today is Ivana Lako. Ivana is an artist, blogger, photographer, and graphic designer. And she is a passionate artist with many years of experience in art journaling, scrapbooking, photography, and graphic design. She's also the owner of Offer Haven, a blog about art journaling where she teaches beginner how to start an art journal and grow their confidence in art making. She's been a teacher for more than 15 years and loves teaching others how to art journal in a simple step-by-step approach with lots of feedback and no overwhelm. And Ivana, thank you so much for joining me. I am super excited to jump into this topic with you. We're going to be talking about art journaling today. And if you don't know anything about it, that's okay. Ivana's going to walk us through it and tell us all about it. Now, Ivana, before we get started in all the questions I have for you, can you tell the good audience just a little bit more about you and how you help people?
Okay, well, hello to everyone listening. Yes, you already said my name. I'm Ivana. I come from Bosnia and Herzegovina, but I currently live in Germany. And I've been making art, I don't know, since forever, since I was a little child. But my first kind of actionable, tangible thing with art was photography and scrapbooking. And through that, I learned a lot about design and art, composition, colors, and so on. And then when I discovered art journaling, all these things were really useful to me. And since I also have a background in teaching, I'm a teacher of English, actually. This also helped me to connect with people, to be a better teacher, especially for beginners. And that's what I want to share with you today is that I teach art journaling, but mostly to beginners, because I know how hard it is to start for people. And usually people start with art journaling, I don't know, somewhere after they're 30 or 35, and somehow their confidence isn't that high at that age, and these are especially women mostly. And I want to teach them that it's really possible to be artistic no matter how old you are and no matter what skills you have, because art journaling is something really personal, and you don't have to share it with anyone. It's a place where you can really be yourself. You can experiment with techniques, with colors, your supplies, and really spend quality creative time with yourself. I mean, I could talk about this for hours, but that's the gist of it.
Well, and we're definitely going to dig into this. And I think the first question I have for you, for people who are listening and they're not familiar with art journaling, can you explain to them what exactly do you mean by that?
Oh, definitely. Well, if you take these two words, art plus journaling, it's actually that you take a notebook, a diary, any kind of notebook, and you make art in it while you also add journaling. And that's the thing that I loved the most when I started, because when I was younger, I used to have diaries and wrote about my feelings and thoughts and so on. So when I realized okay, there is something that people do, and it involves sharing my thoughts and my feelings while making art. This was a mind blow for me. So it's a really, really nice habit, hobby, creative time where you can combine these two things into one and really do many things. You can just make art for art's sake. It's fine. And you don't have that fear of the big white canvas. When you take a notebook that's really small and you experiment with your art supplies and you make something and you really feel good about yourself. And then you can write words, you can write your own feelings like a diary. And all this together is a really, really wonderful experience, at least for me. And I've been in contact with many people for the last 4 years since I had my blog. And all the people say they have the same feeling of satisfaction to combine art and words in this way, especially because there is no fear of the canvas, as I already said, because I was afraid to paint on canvas before. I'm going to ruin it. This is expensive. But in a notebook, I mean, it becomes something very much different.
And it's very personal, right? I mean, it's something that you're
Yes,
created, you're putting your private thoughts there.
yes.
So basically, I'm envisioning myself getting started. I go on to Amazon. Purchase like a journal on Amazon, and
Mhm.
then I can start journaling in it, and then I take those pages and add art to it. Am I describing this correctly?
Yes, yes. You can go either way. You can first make art and then journal, or journal and then make art, or do it at the same time. Or you don't even have to journal. That's the beauty of it. Sometimes I just make lovely art on my pages, no words at all. And if I don't know what to journal about, but I still feel the need to put some words on there, then I can write a quote or some lyrics, anything that inspires me and that I can relate to. So there are so many opportunities there.
Let's say somebody out there is wanting to get started on this, but they don't feel like they're very artistic. What would you
Mhm.
recommend to them?
Well, that's the thing. Most people usually say, okay, Ivana, I want to make art, but I'm not artistic at all. And then I say to them, okay, but is this activity of making art, is the purpose of it to put a label on yourself and your work? Or is the purpose to enjoy some creative time no matter what result you get? Um, because the point is that you should enjoy making art. You should enjoy that process. And I know it sometimes sounds like an abstract thing, oh, you need to enjoy, but, there are always buts. But it really is the truth. So if you think about the end result, for example, a picture you've seen on Pinterest or Instagram, and you want to replicate it, and then you get disappointed, I mean, then you will stop creating. But if you focus on experimenting, on getting to know your supplies, asking yourself questions like, oh, what can this paint do? What can it do with this brush, or maybe with this brush? Or what if I use my fingers to paint? And then you suddenly enjoy the process and not think about the end result, because this end result is usually what makes you feel not confident about yourself, about art making, and it produces fear inside of you. But if you decide, okay, I'm just going to experiment, I'm just going to learn new things and try out new things, then you take a lot of that pressure off yourself.
Now, Ivana, if somebody is just wanting to get started here, what are some of the first steps that they need to take?
Okay, first of all, I mean, if you're listening to this, I bet that you're already in some kind of creativity and you have some kind of supplies. And I would suggest that you get a notebook. Any notebook will do for at the beginning, and take a few of the supplies. For example, the best thing a beginner can do is get acrylic paints, some basic brushes, it doesn't matter which ones, and just start painting on the paper. You can create shapes, you can just create blobs of paint, it doesn't really matter, and just don't try to create something specific, just play with the paints. And then you will realize that some things happen on that paper, and then you will start asking more questions. Okay, what if I try this, if I try this, and so on. So get a notebook, get some acrylic paint, and if you can afford and have desire to, you can get other things like different markers and pencils, maybe some stamps. Stamps are always great. And then start experimenting with those supplies. Oh, I remember my beginnings when I went to the store to get some of the supplies. It was so exciting, to learn new things and to try them out. I mean, it's also exciting today when I get new things, but especially for beginners. And I want to remind all of the beginners that this beginning will pass. So enjoy it while it lasts, because it's the most exciting time for making art. At least it was wonderful to me.
I love that. So it seems extremely simple to get started here.
Mhm.
And just like get that notebook, get those paints if you have around the house or markers or anything that you have, and just get started. And I love doing this. Well, I love the thought of doing this because I think this is something you can treasure and keep for years. Are you finding
Mhm.
that a lot of the clients and customers that you work with, they do one maybe quarterly, or how do people typically incorporate this in their life?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, before I was really struggling with this question, with this problem. I
Mhm.
need to create art daily in order to be called creative or an artist. And people struggle with this a lot. They write to me, they send me emails and questions asking me, Ivana, how can I create art daily? And then I ask them, why would you want that? Is that really something that must be done? I mean, create when you feel the need or when you have the time. So for me, sometimes weeks pass and I don't create anything, and it's fine because I'm not on clock here, right? So you can't force creativity. That's, I believe, the main point. And when you realize that this is something not to worry about, then you can include it in your life and be more relaxed about it. So this is the problem I hear the most: how to start and how to do it daily, but you don't have to.
And
You
I
don't
think
have to
that's
do
such
it
a
daily.
powerful message, Ivana, that you can't, number one, you can't force creativity,
Hmm.
and you can just do it whenever you feel the need. I love it. I love it.
Yes,
Can you,
definitely.
do you have any last minute tips for the audience here?
Okay, since I think 90% of my audience has asked me, Ivana, how can I actually start? I have all the supplies, I have many art journals, I've gathered all the things that you advised, but how to start, how to get ideas, and they are really, really lost. So this is a big problem in any creative field, I believe. Um, but one of my biggest advice is to learn some things and keep things simple. What I mean by this is that you should spend some time, when you have the time, of course, to learn a few things about art, more specifically about design and colors. But basic things, you don't need to overwhelm yourself. There's too much to learn, but basic things. And then these things will give you more ideas and more ideas for experimenting. And experimenting is also a good tip. when you don't know what to create, but you really feel the urge to create, then just gather some supplies. If you have too many supplies, just limit them and then experiment. What can I do with this? If I combine these two, what will they make? What about these two colors or this tool and this paint? And so on. And keeping it simple. I mean, people usually expect that they need to spend like 3 hours in order to create something meaningful for them, or to create something art that's beautiful. But you don't have to spend 3 hours. Sometimes I spend just 10 minutes on my art journal page, and it looks wonderful. I just took an image, I glued it down, I did some paint, I put down a quote that resembles how I feel that day, and that's it. It only took me 10 minutes, but I still had that precious creative time for myself. That's keeping it simple.
I love that. And just experiment on different things and try different things,
Yes.
and you're going to find something that you absolutely love. Now, Ivana, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we leave here, can you tell the audience where they can find you? And I believe you have a free gift for them also.
Yes, well, I'm going to share my website, which is called Artful Haven, artfulhaven.com. There you can find many articles about art journaling and color theory that I already mentioned, design, ideas, prompts, tips about supplies. I mean, I cover everything. And also there you can find my free gifts. I have a special starter kit for art journaling for beginners, where they can find a little bit about art supplies, a little art journal glossary, uh, and art journal recipe, which is a step-by-step, I believe 4 or 5 steps that you can follow every time to create an art journal page. And I also share some tips, some inspiration, and so on. It's a really nice and neat ebook, but not overwhelming.
And we will make sure all of those links are in the show notes so people can click on them and find you, Ivana. And thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all of your wonderful knowledge about art journaling with us.
Well, thank you for having me. It was really a nice time talking to you. And I really hope that this will be inspirational for beginners in art.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening today. Don't forget to sign up for the waitlist so you'll be the first to know when our next free HobbyScool online learning summit launches. The link is in the show notes for this episode, or you can go to hobbyschool.com, and that's HobbyScool with school without an H in it. Talk soon.